The Florida Everglades, a sprawling, slow-moving river of grass, unfurls across the southern tip of the state, forming a living tapestry of water, earth, and sky. This is the Emerald Kingdom, a realm where life has evolved in harmony with the rhythms of flood and drought, sun and shadow. For countless generations, this remarkable landscape has been a sanctuary for a dazzling array of species. Here, rare orchids bloom in secret corners, and ancient cypress trees stand sentinel over a world teeming with life. The Everglades is a cradle for creatures found nowhere else in North America, a living mosaic of birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals, each playing a vital role in the intricate web of existence. Wading birds stalk the shallows, their long legs stirring the mud in search of fish and frogs. Alligators bask on sun-warmed banks, ancient guardians of the marsh. Bobcats and river otters slip through the undergrowth, their lives woven together in a delicate balance shaped by the slow pulse of the water. Yet beneath this vibrant surface a silent threat has emerged, one that moves unseen through the grass and water. The Burmese python, an apex predator with no rivals in this land, has infiltrated the kingdom, its presence nearly invisible but devastating in its effect. These giant constrictors, perfectly adapted to ambush and overpower, have become a force of nature unto themselves. With no natural predators to keep them in check, they have turned the tables on the native inhabitants, preying on animals that have no defense against their silent approach. In the wake of the python's advance, the familiar rhythms of the Everglades have faltered. Raccoons, opossums, and bobcats, once common sights, have all but vanished from areas where pythons now reign. The chorus of life grows quieter, the marshes emptier. The numbers are staggering. Studies reveal that in some regions mammal populations have plummeted by more than 90%. The loss is not just in numbers, but in the very fabric of the ecosystem. A tapestry unraveling thread by thread, the pythons, once strangers to this land, have found a paradise in the warm, wet wilds of South Florida. Here they thrive, their numbers swelling with each passing season. Masters of stealth and prolific breeders, a single female can lay up to 100 eggs at a time. Each clutch brings forth a new generation of invaders ready to spread across the kingdom. Their numbers have exploded, spreading across hundreds of square miles. The Everglades, once ruled by a delicate balance, now faces an invasion that seems unstoppable. The web of life is unraveling, one silent meal at a time. Pythons consume everything from birds to deer, leaving emptiness in their wake. The silence is the most haunting sign of all. Where once a chorus of frogs, birds, and mammals filled the air, now only the wind stirs the reeds. The emptiness echoes through the marshes and forests, a ghostly reminder of what has been lost. This is not merely a local problem, it is an ecological disaster unfolding in slow motion. The very identity of the Everglades is at stake as the balance tips further and further out of reach. The loss of native creatures ripples outward, affecting everything from seed dispersal to predator-prey relationships, and even the health of the wetlands themselves. Each missing species leaves a gap that cannot easily be filled. The beautiful, complex world of the Everglades is fading. Its future grows more uncertain as the balance slips further away, the kingdom's fate hanging in the balance. This crisis is a stark reminder. A single invasive species can unravel thousands of years of natural harmony, leaving devastation in its wake. As the sun sets on the Emerald Kingdom, the question lingers in the stillness. Can the balance ever be restored? Or is this the twilight of a vanishing world? Florida's battle against invasive species is a long and troubled saga. The Everglades, once a thriving ecosystem, has faced wave after wave of invaders. Each time the state has scrambled to respond. The introduction of the Burmese python is only the latest chapter. Before them, Florida struggled with the melaleuca tree, which choked out native plants and dried up wetlands, and the voracious cane toad, which poisoned countless predators. Each time the invaders adapted quickly, blending into the landscape and outpacing every attempt at control. Policy after policy has been rolled out: biological controls, chemical treatments, and targeted removals. For melaleuca, beetles were released to eat the trees. For toads, toxic traps were deployed. For pythons, radio-tagged Judas snakes and scent-tracking dogs have been used. Yet the scale of the Everglades, over 1.5 million acres of dense, tangled wilderness, renders these efforts almost futile. For every invader removed, many more remain hidden. The ecological consequences have been devastating. Native mammals like raccoons, opossums, and rabbits have vanished from large swaths of the Everglades. Wading birds and alligators now compete with pythons for food. Despite years of effort, the invaders continue to spread. The landscape grows quieter, emptier, and more unbalanced with each passing year. Florida's current strategies, no matter how dramatic or well-intentioned, have failed to halt the tide. The problem is too big, the invaders too well adapted. Without a new, more radical approach, the ecological damage will only continue to mount. With conventional methods failing and the python population surging, the Everglades faces an ecological crisis of unprecedented scale. The native ecosystem, once balanced, is now under siege from an apex predator with no natural enemies in its new home. In response, a radical idea emerges from the world of ecological science, the honey badger gambit. This proposal suggests introducing the honey badger, a renowned snake-hunting mammal from Africa and Asia, into the Everglades with the hope that it will target and suppress the invasive python population. The scientific reasoning is compelling. Honey badgers are natural predators of large snakes, including venomous species. Their resistance to snake venom and relentless hunting behavior make them uniquely suited to challenge the dominance of pythons in the Everglades. Ecological modeling offers a glimpse into possible outcomes. Simulations suggest that introducing honey badgers could reduce python numbers, potentially restoring balance to the ecosystem. Models predict shifts in food webs, with honey badgers preying on pythons and other invasive species, while also competing with native predators. The honey badger's legendary ferocity and skill at killing snakes are central to the proposal. In controlled environments, honey badgers have demonstrated the ability to hunt and consume large snakes, often surviving encounters that would be fatal to other animals, yet history warns of unintended consequences. The introduction of new species for biological control has often backfired, as seen with Australia's cane toads, which became a destructive force in their own right. Ecological models highlight both promise and peril. While honey badgers could help control pythons, they might also disrupt existing food webs, preying on native species or outcompeting established predators. The Everglades, a complex and delicate ecosystem, could be pushed into new and unpredictable states. The risks are immense. If honey badgers adapt too well, they could become invasive themselves, spreading beyond intended boundaries and creating new ecological challenges. The debate within the scientific community is intense. Some models suggest the benefits outweigh the risks, while others warn of cascading effects that could further destabilize the Everglades. For now, the honey badger gambit remains a theoretical solution, explored in ecological models and scientific discussions as the crisis deepens. The central question persists: how much risk is acceptable to save a collapsing ecosystem? Is bold, unconventional action justified in the face of ecological disaster? The honey badger gambit challenges traditional conservation thinking, pushing the boundaries of what is considered possible or prudent in ecological management. It is a desperate, dangerous, and undeniably fascinating idea, one that sparks scientific curiosity and ignites controversy. Is the honey badger gambit the solution, or merely another problem in the making? The fate of the Everglades may hinge on the answer. Why the honey badger? Its reputation is legendary. Pound for pound, it's one of the most aggressive animals alive, known to take on lions and hyenas without hesitation. But its real superpower is hunting snakes. The honey badger uses keen senses to detect movement, tracking even the most elusive serpents. In its native range, it regularly preys on venomous snakes, immune to most bites. Its thick, loose skin allows it to twist free from attackers. While its pain tolerance is legendary, this resistance would help it survive Florida's native snakes and focus on pythons, tracking them by scent and sound. Honey badgers are relentless hunters with strong claws for digging and thick, loose skin for defense. Their claws can tear through tough soil, logs, and even termite mounds. They can excavate burrows where pythons often hide. Their persistence means few prey can escape once targeted. Their diet is broad: insects, rodents, birds, eggs, fruit, even honey and reptiles. This omnivorous appetite makes them highly adaptable. This adaptability means they could thrive in the Everglades, exploiting a wide range of food sources and habitats. In their ecosystem, honey badgers play the role of both predator and competitor, often clashing with other carnivores over food and territory. But their fierce hunting skills raise questions. Would they target only pythons or feast on native species too? Supporters see a uniquely qualified python killer, capable of tracking, confronting, and subduing even the largest snakes. Critics see a potential new threat to the balance of the ecosystem, as native wildlife could become unintended victims. The honey badger's strengths, its aggression, adaptability, and fearlessness, are also its risks, making it both a formidable hunter and a potential disruptor in any ecosystem it enters. The honey badger gambit isn't just a wild guess. It's grounded in rigorous scientific modeling and decades of ecological research. Ecological models built on field data and peer-reviewed studies simulate the complex web of interactions that define the Everglades. These models allow researchers to predict the cascading effects of introducing a new predator. Optimistic projections suggest that honey badgers could directly reduce python numbers by preying on adults and raiding nests, leading to a sharp decline in the invasive population. As pythons decrease, models forecast a rebound in native mammals, restoring balance to the ecosystem. In these scenarios, the honey badger acts as a so-called silver bullet, reversing years of ecological damage. Yet alternative models, grounded in studies of predator behavior, warn of unintended consequences. Honey badgers may prefer easier native prey, leaving pythons unchecked. There's also the risk of collateral damage. Simulations show honey badgers disturbing burrow ecosystems, threatening vulnerable species like the gopher tortoise. The most alarming models predict honey badgers could become invasive themselves, spreading beyond the Everglades and triggering new ecological crises. Each simulation weighs factors like reproductive rates, adaptability, and dispersal potential, variables drawn from published ecological studies. The results? No certainties, only probabilities, with wide margins of error reflecting the unpredictable nature of ecosystems. The science underscores both hope and risk. Models highlight the potential for recovery, but also the danger of unintended ecological upheaval. The stakes are immense and the future remains uncertain, balanced on the edge of scientific calculation and ecological risk. The greatest fear is ecological replacement, solving one crisis by creating another. Honey badgers, with no natural predators in Florida, could multiply unchecked, spreading rapidly through diverse habitats. Their voracious appetite and aggressive foraging could devastate native species, from ground-nesting birds to small mammals and reptiles, disrupting delicate food webs. We might trade a python problem for a honey badger disaster as the new predator outcompetes or preys upon vulnerable wildlife already struggling to survive. The ethical dilemma is profound. Do we risk further harm to native species in an attempt to fix our own ecological mistake? The introduction would be irreversible. Once established, honey badgers could alter the landscape permanently, making restoration of the original ecosystem nearly impossible. There are additional concerns. Honey badgers are known for their tenacity and intelligence, which could lead them to exploit new food sources, including eggs, amphibians, and even the nests of endangered animals. The law of unintended consequences looms large. History is filled with examples where introducing a new species to control another has backfired spectacularly. Consider the cane toad in Australia, brought in to control pests but instead becoming a destructive invasive force, poisoning native predators and spreading unchecked. Every intervention in nature creates unpredictable ripples. The balance of an ecosystem is intricate, and even small changes can cascade into widespread disruption. Is the python crisis so severe that it justifies such a gamble, risking the stability of the entire ecosystem for a potential solution? Or is the cure potentially worse than the disease, repeating the mistakes of the past and compounding the damage? The answer is anything but simple. Nature's web is tangled, and every thread pulled can unravel consequences beyond our control. The honey badger gambit sparks fierce debate, igniting passionate arguments in both scientific circles and local communities. Some ecologists argue it's a necessary risk. Models show a real chance to save the Everglades, and the urgency is growing as invasive species continue to spread. The system is already broken, says Dr. Evelyn Reed, a fictional biologist. We must consider a paradigm shift, or we risk losing everything that makes this ecosystem unique. Conservation groups are deeply skeptical. We've spent decades fighting invasives, and every new introduction brings unforeseen consequences. Introducing another goes against everything we stand for. We fear repeating past mistakes. They urge doubling down on proven methods, better detection, habitat management, expanded bounties. Local hunters are torn, caught between tradition and desperation. "I'll welcome anything that kills a python," says Dale Thompson, a fictional veteran, reflecting the frustration of many on the front lines. But a honey badger, that's a monster of its own. We don't know what it might do here. The public, fueled by viral videos, is fascinated and alarmed. Online, opinions clash and rumors spread quickly. The honey badger's pop culture fame oversimplifies the issue, turning a complex ecological gamble into a meme. Some see a hero, others a menace. The divide runs deep, even within families and neighborhoods. The debate is emotional, scientific and ethical all at once, with every side convinced they're fighting for the Everglades' future. The Everglades' fate is tangled in competing visions of risk and rescue, with no clear path forward. There are no easy answers, only difficult choices and uncertain outcomes. Every voice adds a new layer to the dilemma, reflecting the hopes and fears of a community on edge. The stakes are real and the world is watching, waiting to see what Florida will do next. The future of the Everglades hangs in the balance, shaped by every decision made today. In the wild, the interactions between species are complex and unpredictable. Pythons, apex predators in the Everglades, have disrupted the natural balance. Introducing a new predator like the honey badger could alter these dynamics further, with unknown consequences for the ecosystem. Scientists observe these interactions closely, noting the behaviors and adaptations of both species. Camera traps and field observations provide valuable data, helping scientists understand the impact of these predators on the Everglades. In the lab, detailed studies of the animals' physical characteristics and behaviors offer insights into their roles within the ecosystem. Data analysis reveals trends and patterns, guiding decisions on wildlife management and conservation strategies. The balance of predator and prey is delicate, and any disruption can have cascading effects throughout the ecosystem. The Everglades is a complex web of life, where every species plays a crucial role in maintaining the health of the ecosystem. The interactions between pythons and honey badgers are just one piece of a larger puzzle, with each encounter adding to our understanding of this unique environment. As scientists and conservationists continue their work, the future of the Everglades remains uncertain, shaped by the choices we make today. The crisis has reached a tipping point. We must weigh a known disaster, the relentless python invasion, against an unknown risk, the honey badger gambit. Each year, pythons push native species closer to extinction, unraveling the delicate web of life that defines the Everglades. The honey badger is seen by some as a last desperate hope, a predator tough enough to challenge the python's reign. But introducing a new predator raises profound ethical and ecological dilemmas. Animal welfare is at stake. The honey badger, a stranger to these lands, could suffer in an unfamiliar environment or become a threat to vulnerable native creatures. The balance of the ecosystem hangs by a thread. A new predator could tip it further, preying not just on pythons but on birds, mammals and reptiles already under siege. The risks are enormous: ecological meltdown, new threats to wildlife and the possibility of irreversible change. There is no risk-free path. Every choice carries consequences for animal welfare, ecosystem balance, and the long-term fate of the Everglades. The decision is a profound dilemma: pragmatism versus caution, hope versus fear. The needs of one species weighed against the survival of many. Between a serpent and a badger, the future is uncertain. The ethical and ecological stakes could not be higher. What would you choose? The python crisis is not just a human story, it's a tale of disrupted balance, where every creature and plant feels the ripple of our actions. When new predators arrive, native animals lose their homes, their young, and sometimes their very place in the world. The pythons, thriving in a land not their own, tip the scales, turning ancient relationships into struggles for survival. Plants and insects, too, are caught in the upheaval, as the loss of one species echoes through the web of life. Every animal, every plant is part of a delicate system, one that can unravel with a single careless change. The burden of stewardship means seeing through the eyes of the voiceless, understanding that their survival is bound to our choices. Ecosystems are more complex than we can imagine. Every action has consequences, felt by every living thing. True stewardship means preventing harm before it begins, protecting the balance that sustains all life. The future depends on learning from nature itself, on respecting the boundaries and wisdom of wild communities. The real question is not just how to fix what's broken, but how to honor the lives and connections that make this place whole. The Everglades' future, and the future of all who call it home, rests on our willingness to act as true stewards, for the sake of every creature and every blade of grass. Deep within the tangled heart of Florida's wild places, a silent drama unfolds every day. Here, apex predators, ancient alligators, elusive panthers, and cunning bobcats move through their domains, shaping the lives of all who dwell beneath their watchful gaze. These rulers of the wetlands and forests do not simply hunt, they maintain the fragile balance that allows the ecosystem to flourish. When they stalk the waterways or patrol the undergrowth, apex predators keep populations of prey in check, preventing any one species from overwhelming the rest. Their presence ensures that the cycle of life continues, a dance of strength and vulnerability, order and renewal. With the arrival of invasive pythons, however, the script has changed. These new rivals, with no natural enemies in their adopted home, challenge the old order. They compete for food, disrupt hunting grounds, and sometimes even face off with the native giants. In rare but telling encounters, alligators and pythons become both predator and prey, locked in struggles that echo through the ecosystem. Each victory, each loss sends ripples outward, affecting birds, fish, and even the smallest insects. Some native predators adapt, learning to avoid or confront the intruders. Others face decline, unable to compete with the python's relentless hunger. Yet even now, the wild strives for balance. The Everglades' apex predators remain vigilant, their ancient instincts guiding them through a changing world. The story of these guardians is one of resilience and the adaptation, a testament to the power and complexity of nature, where every life, every struggle shapes the fate of the land. Beneath the emerald canopy and through the labyrinthine waterways, a new force has been quietly weaving its way into the fabric of Florida's wild kingdom. The Burmese python, once a stranger to these lands, began its journey with cautious exploration, slipping through reeds, gliding beneath the surface of dark waters, and vanishing into the dense sawgrass. Driven by instinct, these serpentine invaders mapped new territories, their bodies hugging the earth as they followed the call of warmth and opportunity. Each python carved a path of silent migration, fanning out from the southern wetlands to reach deeper into the heart of the state. Their movement was patient, relentless, and almost invisible until the consequences became impossible to ignore. With few obstacles and an endless buffet of prey, the python's appetite shaped its destiny. Marsh rabbits, raccoons, wading birds, and even young alligators fell to their coils. Each meal fueled their growth, allowing them to reach lengths and sizes rarely seen in their native lands. As their numbers swelled, the sounds of the Everglades began to change. The calls of birds grew fainter, the rustle of small mammals less frequent. The python's presence rippled through the food web, thinning populations and shifting the roles of predator and prey. Yet the python's conquest was not one of brute force, but of quiet adaptation. Their camouflage made them shadows in the grass, their patience a deadly advantage. Over time, their dominance redrew the boundaries of the ecosystem, challenging the very balance that had endured for centuries. In the drama of the wild, the Burmese python became both invader and architect, shaping a new reality with every step, every hunt, and every silent night under the Florida stars. Far beyond the swamps of Florida, the story of the silent conqueror has echoed across continents and oceans. In distant corners of the world, other invaders have arrived, each rewriting the rules of survival and competition in their newfound homes. On the grasslands of Australia, red foxes and feral cats, introduced for sport and companionship, stalked native marsupials under the moonlight. Agile and cunning, these predators unleashed a wave of losses among small mammals and ground-nesting birds, their impact rippling through the bush. With few natural enemies, their numbers soared, reshaping the very composition of the land. Across the Pacific, the brown tree snake slithered unseen into Guam's forests, hitching a ride in cargo and crates. Once established, its appetite for eggs and fledglings emptied the treetops of native birds, leaving the canopy eerily silent. Lizards and small mammals, too, fell to its nocturnal hunts, triggering a cascade that altered the island's ecological balance. In Africa's Great Lakes, the Nile perch, introduced to boost fisheries, became a voracious titan. Native cichlids, once vibrant and diverse, vanished in its wake. The water's food web shifted, algae blooms spread, and the rhythms of the lake changed forever. Each of these invasions unfolded without fanfare, driven by the ancient instincts of predator and prey. The newcomers found opportunity, the natives faced an unfamiliar threat. Across continents and climates, the pattern remained. The arrival of a single species could tip the scales, setting off a chain reaction felt in every corner of the ecosystem. In the wild theatre of life, these silent invasions serve as living echoes, a reminder that the balance of nature is fragile and that the story of the python is but one chapter in a global saga of adaptation, competition, and change. In the heart of the wetlands, the future branches like the roots beneath the water's surface, one path winding toward renewal, the other toward silence. In one vision, intervention finds its mark. Native predators cautiously reclaim their territories, emboldened by restored balance. Wading birds return to the shallows, their reflections rippling alongside schools of minnows. Orchids bloom in the filtered light, and frogs chorus at dusk, unafraid. The python's shadow fades, its numbers held in check by a web of predators and prey that pulses with resilience. The sawgrass sways, alive with unseen life, as the ancient rhythms of the swamp are restored. But another path unspools in the hush of unchecked invasion. Here the python reigns, a silent monarch in a kingdom of ghosts. The calls of herons and egrets grow faint, then vanish. Small mammals become memories, their burrows collapsing into the mud. Invasive plants creep into the empty spaces, choking out the old growth. The water runs clear of movement and the air thickens with stillness. The wetland becomes a vast green mirror, reflecting only what remains. Between these futures, every creature's fate is entwined. Whether renewal or retreat, the wetlands will bear the imprint of each choice, each chance, each silent struggle. And so the story of Florida's wild heart continues, its next chapter written by the unseen lives that call it home.